Former Philadelphia Eagle Bryan Braman, who fought a much tougher battle off the field, lost his life to cancer this week.
On July 17th, the football world was shaken by the news of beloved linebacker Bryan Braman's tragic passing. But now, emotions have reached a whole new level. Air-shocking footage of his final moments surfaced. It's raw, emotional, and changing everything we thought we knew about his death. Let me break it down. Bryan's final battle. On July 17, 2025, 38-year-old Bryan Braman passed away at a hospital in his hometown of Spokane, Washington, surrounded by friends and family. In February 2025, he was diagnosed with a rare and aggressive form of cancer, with some sources specifically identifying it as brain cancer. The initial shock of the diagnosis was followed by the immediate need to understand treatment options and develop a comprehensive plan for fighting the disease. The medical battle that followed was comprehensive and intensive, involving multiple surgeries, chemotherapy, and cutting-edge CAR T-cell therapy in Seattle. This experimental treatment, which involves reprogramming immune cells to fight cancer, initially showed promise, with the cancer mass beginning to shrink. However, the cancer proved to be as relentless as Bryan himself had been on the football field. By June 2025, updates on the GoFundMe page revealed that the disease had returned with vengeance, growing exponentially faster around his vital organs. The treatments that were meant to save his life had also compromised his immune system, making recovery from surgeries increasingly difficult and limiting his options for further treatment. The progression of the disease forced difficult conversations about priorities and quality of life. Bryan's focus shied from aggressive treatment to ensuring that his remaining time was spent in the most meaningful way possible, surrounded by the people he loved most and creating lasting memories with his daughters. The financial burden of fighting this disease was staggering, representing a challenge that even Bryan's NFL earnings couldn't fully address. Insurance didn't cover the housing and caregiving costs for the 24-hour care required during his 12-week treatment program in Seattle. The man who had achieved financial security through his NFL career found himself in the position of having to sell his vehicle to afford temporary housing while battling for his life. This financial reality highlighted one of the harsh truths about catastrophic illness. Even those who have achieved professional success can find themselves vulnerable when facing the enormous costs associated with cutting-edge medical treatment. The need for 24-hour caregiving, specialized housing near treatment facilities, and experimental therapies created expenses that quickly mounted beyond what most individuals could manage alone. A GoFundMe campaign, organized by friend William Jones, was established to help cover these mounting expenses. The initial goal of $25,000 seemed modest, but it reflected the reality that even former professional athletes could find themselves financially vulnerable when facing catastrophic medical expenses. The campaign description painted a picture of someone fighting not just for his life, but struggling with the practical challenges of accessing the care he needed. The response from the NFL community was immediate and overwhelming, demonstrating the lasting bonds that professional athletics can create. J.J. Watt, Bryan's former teammate from Houston, donated $10,000 to the campaign. Other former teammates, including Chris Long, Dwayne Brown, Brian Cushing, Brent Selleck, and Rasul Douglas, also contributed, demonstrating the respect and affection Bryan had earned throughout his career. The campaign ultimately raised over $88,000, nearly 4 times the original goal. This outpouring of support came not just from former teammates and NFL personalities, but from fans who remembered the helmetless tackle, the blocked punts, and the championship moments that had made Bryan such a beloved figure. Fans who had never met him personally contributed because they had been inspired by his story and wanted to support someone who had brought them joy and inspiration through his athletic achievements. Throughout this battle, Bryan maintained the same grace and determination that had characterized his entire life. His updates through the GoFundMe page and social media maintained a positive tone, focusing on gratitude for the support he was receiving rather than dwelling on the difficulties he was facing. This approach was consistent with his lifelong pattern of facing challenges head-on while maintaining perspective about what was truly important. His final weeks were spent surrounded by his daughters, aged 11 and 8, and his mother, Tina, who had managed his care and provided updates to the fundraising community that had rallied around him. The news of his passing sent shockwaves through the NFL community and beyond, as people struggled to process the loss of someone who had seemed to embody resilience and strength. J.J. Watt posted on X, "Rest in peace, brother, gone far too soon," a simple but heartfelt tribute that captured the sense of loss felt by those who had known Bryan personally. Emmanuel Acho, Bryan's former Eagles teammate and current television personality, shared a more extensive tribute. "I didn't intend on crying this morning. Then I read the news on my teammate Bryan Braman. Love you, Braman. You lived a hard life and you never complained about it. A champion in life and a warrior in death." The Philadelphia Eagles released an official statement that perfectly captured Bryan's impact. During his 4 seasons in Philadelphia, Bryan was a loyal teammate, a supporter of the community, and a valuable member of our Super Bowl LII winning team. More importantly, he was a devoted father who passionately loved his family and everyone around him. The Houston Texans also mourned their former player. We are deeply saddened to hear about the passing of Bryan Braman. Our thoughts and prayers go out to the Braman family during this difficult time. Sean Stellato, Bryan's agent and close friend, provided perhaps the most personal tribute, calling him a warrior in every sense on the field and in life, facing every battle with unshakable grit and heart. His passing leaves a void not just in football, but in the spirit of every underdog who ever dared to fight. In the aftermath of his passing, a particularly poignant video resurfaced on social media. The clip showed Bryan delivering an emotional motivational speech to his Eagles teammates before Super Bowl LII, his intensity and passion on full display as he urged his team toward championship glory. The video, which had gained attention years earlier, took on new meaning as fans and former teammates shared it as a tribute to his memory.
Let's go! Eagles kill! 1, 2, 3! Eagles kill! Let's go!
The resurfacing of this video demonstrated how Bryan's impact extended beyond his individual performances to include his role as a motivator and leader within the team structure. His ability to inspire teammates and elevate the energy level of the entire group was part of what made him valuable beyond his statistical contributions. The global reach of Bryan's story was evident in international media coverage, with outlets from India to Germany recognizing his impact and sharing his story with audiences far removed from American football. This international attention spoke to the universal appeal of his journey, the undrained player who achieved his dreams through perseverance and character. The fact that Bryan's story resonated with people who had no direct connection to American football demonstrated the power of his narrative to transcend cultural and geographic boundaries. His journey from humble beginnings to professional success, his approach to overcoming obstacles, and his dedication to family were themes that people everywhere could relate to and find inspiring. The legacy Bryan leaves behind extended far beyond his football accomplishments. His story became a reminder that success isn't always measured in statistics or accolades, but in the impact one has on others and the character displayed in both triumph and adversity. His journey from homelessness in high school to Super Bowl champion represented hope for anyone facing seemingly insurmountable obstacles. For his daughters, Blakely and Marlo, Bryan's legacy would be that of a father who showed them that dreams are achievable through hard work, that setbacks are temporary, and that true strength comes from caring for others. His agent noted that Bryan had Owen said his daughters were his greatest accomplishment, placing them above even his Super Bowl victory in terms of personal pride and fulfillment. The girls would grow up with the knowledge that their father had achieved remarkable success through determination and character, but more importantly, that he had prioritized them above all his other accomplishments. This foundation would serve them well as they navigated their own challenges and pursued their own dreams. Zooming in on his approach to the game, playing with maximum effort regardless of the situation, supporting teammates unconditionally, and maintaining perspective about what was truly important in life, provided a model for how to approach not just football, but life itself. Football and beyond. The Philadelphia Eagles of the mid-2010s were a team in transition, searching for an identity and the right combination of talent and chemistry to compete at the highest level. Bryan fit seamlessly into the culture that head coach Doug Peterson and his staff were building, one that valued character, work ethic, and team-first mentality over individual accolades. His arrival in Philadelphia coincided with the organizational shift toward building not just a talented roster, but a cohesive unit capable of achieving sustained success. The Eagles' approach to team building during this era was comprehensive, focusing not just on acquiring talented players, but on finding individuals who could contribute to a winning culture. Bryan's background, his journey from undrafted free agent to established NFL player, his reputation for reliability and leadership made him an ideal fit for what the organization was trying to accomplish. His 4 seasons with the Eagles would see him continue to excel in his role as a special teams specialist, but the 2017 season would prove to be the defining chapter of his career. That year represented the culmination of everything the Eagles had been building toward, with Bryan playing a crucial role in the team's journey to their first Super Bowl victory since 1960. The 2017 Eagles were a team of destiny in many ways, overcoming significant adversity throughout the season. The loss of starting quarterback Carson Wentz to injury late in the regular season could have derailed their championship aspirations. Instead, it became an opportunity for the entire team to demonstrate the depth of character and resilience that would define their championship run. Bryan's contributions that season included a crucial blocked punt in the NFC divisional round against the Atlanta Falcons, a play that helped secure a 15-10 victory and propelled the Eagles toward their first Super Bowl appearance since 2004. This moment represented more than just a successful special teams play. It was a microcosm of Bryan's entire career and approach to the game.
Yeah, previously in the game, I actually had been accused of muffing a punt. Down there, deep in our territory, the ball bounced off of me. They recovered it. and ended up scoring off of that. So at that point, I was just like, you know, I gotta make it up. I gotta do something to kind of help put us back in that, you know, situation where we got the momentum in our court. Right. And especially going into half, it was a big play. Coach Phipp called the rush, and I put everything into it, and I was able to get a couple fingers on the ball.
This moment of redemption, turning a mistake into a game-changing play, perfectly encapsulated Bryan's approach to both football and life. Rather than being defined by setbacks, he used them as motivation to achieve something greater. The psychological strength required to bounce back from a potentially crushing error and deliver a crucial play in the same game demonstrated the mental toughness that had carried him throughout his career. The blocked punt against Atlanta wasn't just about individual redemption. It was about understanding his role within the larger team context. Bryan recognized that his mistake had put the team in a difficult position, and he took personal responsibility for making amends. This sense of accountability and team-first thinking was characteristic of his approach throughout his career. As the Eagles prepared for Super Bowl LII against the New England Patriots, Bryan found himself in a position that many players never reached despite longer, more statistically impressive careers. He was 30 years old, 7 years into a journey that had begun as an undrained long shot, and now he stood just one game away from achieving the dream that had sustained him through every challenge and setback.
Yeah, I can probably admit that I'll be focused on not allowing myself to hyperventilate. I can definitely get kind of wound up, and I think it's going to be probably to date the most intense atmosphere that I've ever played in, especially, you know, in the link, the Philly fans, everything that's riding on it. It's going to be a good deal.
The honesty in Bryan's pregame assessment revealed both his humanity and his understanding of the magnitude of the moment. Here was a player who had already proven himself countless times in high-pressure situations, yet he still felt the weight of what this game represented, not just for him personally, but for a franchise and fan base that hadn't tasted championship success since 1960. The game itself would become an instant classic, with the Eagles ultimately prevailing 41-33 in a back-and-forth affair that showcased the very best of both teams. The emotional weight of achieving this lifelong dream was evident in his post-game reflections, where the reality of what they had accomplished began to sink in for a player who had always been driven by the pursuit of excellence rather than individual recognition.
How did it change you?
My schedule got real busy real quick.
Right.
Sitting around thinking about it, you know, you spend so much time investing everything you have, blood, sweat, and tears into something, and then you achieve it at the age of 30. You kind of sit around like, what are you supposed to do now? You know,
I know.
You have to come up with a whole nother life goal for the next 30 years.
The Super Bowl victory also provided Bryan with a platform to reflect on the journey that had brought him to this moment, particularly the influence of teammates who had shown him what it meant to be a professional, both on and off the field. The Eagles team of that era was notable not just for their football success, but for their social consciousness and community involvement.
Yeah, I mean, it makes you feel really special to be a part of something like that, especially in movements that will definitely end up as a part of history. And for you to be able to see guys like Chris Long and Malcolm Jenkins and the way that they carry themselves, the character that they have, just the professionalism and everything that they put into it, they're not out there to do it to say, hey, look at me and what my opinion is about this. They're really out there to, you know, kind of bring light to, you know, some things that a lot of people just really aren't educated about. Or are misled in certain areas.
Following the Super Bowl triumph, Bryan's career wound down with the 2017 season serving as his final year in the NFL. His retirement at age 30 marked the end of a 7-year career that had exceeded every reasonable expectation for an undrafted player from a small college program. The decision to retire at 30, while still physically capable of playing, demonstrated Bryan's understanding of his own limitations and his readiness to transition to the next phase of his life. As a devoted father to 2 daughters, Blakely and Marlon, Bryan found new meaning and purpose in parenthood.
I got two beautiful little girls.
The pride in his voice when discussing his daughters was unmistakable, revealing a man who had found his greatest source of happiness and motivation in his role as a father. This aspect of his life would become even more significant in the challenges that lay ahead, as his daughters would serve as his primary motivation during his final battle.
It's actually kind of funny because like some of the athletes that you know, they're single, don't have kids, they don't have a lot of the responsibilities of like, you know, bedtime, story time, putting kids down and stuff like that. But, you know, the mother of my children does an unbelievable job. I definitely wouldn't be here or able to do anything that I do and provide for them the way that I'm able to provide for them if it wasn't for her.
His acknowledgement of the support system that enabled his success demonstrated the same team-first mentality that had made him such a valuable teammate throughout his career. Post-retirement, Bryan remained connected to the game through youth coaching and community involvement, particularly in Texas, where he had established roots. The financial security that his NFL career had provided, with career earnings of approximately $4.7 million and an estimated net worth of $2 million, allowed him to be selective about his post-football endeavors and focus on activities that aligned with his values and interests. Considering where he started from, it was initially difficult to picture Bryan ending up with such a successful career, but he fought his way through till the end. The rise of an underdog. Born on May 4th, 1987, Bryan's journey to professional football was anything but conventional. Growing up in a single-parent household, he witnessed firsthand the struggles and sacrifices that would later fuel his relentless drive on the gridiron. His mother, working full-time while pursuing her education, created an environment where no excuse was acceptable for not chasing one's dreams.
My mom, she did an amazing job. Single mother, working full-time, going to school, trying to just make a better life for me, give me every opportunity, my sister every opportunity that we needed in order to pursue our dreams or any opportunity that presented itself. She didn't want us to have any excuse not to be able to pursue that.
The family unit, tight-knit by necessity and strengthened by shared struggles, instilled in him values that would serve him well in the brutal world of professional athletics. The sight of his mother juggling multiple responsibilities while never losing sight of her goals taught Bryan that obstacles were simply challenges to be overcome, not reasons to surrender. The transformation from a 6-year-old with dreams of professional athletics to a focused 8th grader committed to football excellence didn't happen overnight. Those intervening years were filled with lessons about dedication, sacrifice, and the importance of maintaining focus, even when circumstances seemed designed to derail progress. Despite facing periods of homelessness during high school, Bryan's focus never wavered from his ultimate goal. The experience of housing instability during his teenage years could have been devastating for a young person with athletic aspirations. Instead, it became another source of motivation, another reminder that comfort and security weren't guaranteed and had to be earned through relentless effort. These experiences taught Bryan to value every opportunity, to never take anything for granted, and to understand that setbacks were temporary unless you allowed them to become permanent. His path through college, football was equally unconventional, playing at multiple institutions including West Texas AANDM, Long Beach City College, and the University of Idaho. This nomadic college career, rather than being a sign of instability or lack of commitment, actually demonstrated Bryan's adaptability and determination to find the right fit for his skills and aspirations. The 2011 NFL draw came and went without Bryan hearing his name called. In a league where being selected Owen determines immediate value and opportunity, going undred could have been the end of his football dreams. For many players, the Dre represents validation of years of hard work and sacrifice. When that validation doesn't come, it's easy to internalize the rejection as evidence that the dream was unrealistic from the beginning. Instead, for Bryan, going undrade became the beginning of one of the most inspiring underdog stories in recent NFL history. Rather than viewing his undrade status as a verdict on his abilities, he saw it as simply another obstacle to overcome. This perspective, shaped by years of overcoming challenges that seemed insurmountable, allowed him to approach his professional career with the same determination that had carried him through every previous setback. The Houston Texans took a chance on the undrade free agent, signing him to their roster, where he would spend the first 3 years of his professional career from 2011 to 2013. The decision by the Texans coaching staff to offer Bryan an opportunity represented more than just filling a roster spot. It was recognition of the intangible qualities that don't always show up in combined measurements or college statistics. It was in Houston where Bryan first made his mark, not as a starting linebacker, but as a special teams dynamo whose fearless approach to the game would become his calling card. Special teams play in the NFL requires a unique combination of athletic ability, intelligence, and sheer courage. Players must be able to run at full speed down a field covered with equally fast and strong opponents, all while maintaining the discipline to execute specific assignments and the awareness to adjust to rapidly changing situations. The moment that truly introduced Bryan Braman to the wider NFL audience came during the 2011 season finale against the Tennessee Titans. In a play that would be replayed countless times and become emblematic of his approach to football, Bryan's helmet came off during punt coverage, yet he continued downfield to make a head-to-head tackle on returner Mark Mariani. This helmetless tackle wasn't just a display of athletic ability, it was a window into the soul of a player who understood that football, at its core, is about heart and and determination as much as skill and talent. This play didn't just make highlight reels, it established Bryan as a fan favorite and demonstrated the kind of player he was, someone who would sacrifice personal safety for team success. The viral nature of this tackle, long before social media made such moments commonplace, spoke to something deeper about what fans love about football: the raw, unfiltered dedication to the game that transcends individual concerns. The reaction to the helmetless tackle revealed something important about Bryan's character and his understanding of his role within the team structure. When asked about the play, his response wasn't focused on personal glory or the attention it brought him. Instead, he spoke about making the tackle, about doing his job, about the mentality required to play special teams at the highest level. This perspective would characterize his entire approach to professional football.
My helmet ended up coming off in a scuffle. Somehow the returner made it to the sideline. I was just thinking to myself, like, he's not supposed to be there. All I was thinking about was just making the tackle. I wasn't really thinking about my helmet not being there.
In 2012, Bryan's contributions were formally recognized when he was named a Pro Bowl alternate, a significant achievement for any player, but particularly meaningful for someone who had gone undrafted just a year earlier. The Pro Bowl recognition represented validation from coaches, players, and fans across the league that Bryan had established himself as one of the premier special teams players in the NFL. These weren't just statistics in a box score. They were defining moments that showcased Bryan's ability to impact games in crucial situations. His career statistics: 97 games played, 58 tackles, 1.5 sacks, and 2 fumble recoveries, might seem modest by traditional standards, but they failed to capture the true measure of his contributions to his team. His reputation within the Texans organization extended beyond his on-field contributions. Teammates spoke about his work ethic in practice, his willingness to help younger players understand their roles, and his ability to maintain peak physical condition throughout the grueling NFL season. These intangible contributions, while not reflected in traditional statistics, were crucial to the overall success of the teams he played for. In March 2014, Bryan's journey took him to Philadelphia, where he signed a 2-year contract with the Eagles. This move would prove to be the most significant of his career, not just in terms of financial security, but because it would place him in a position to achieve the ultimate goal that had driven him since he was 6 years old: winning a championship. The transition from Houston to Philadelphia represented more than just a change of uniform. It was an opportunity for Bryan to bring his experience and leadership to a team that was building something special. The Eagles organization, under the leadership of head coach Chip Kelly, initially and later Doug Peterson, was in the process of creating a culture that valued intelligence, work ethic, and team-first mentality qualities that Bryan possessed in abundance. Following the Super Bowl triumph in 2017, Bryan retired from the NFL, bringing his 7-year career to an end. The outpouring of grief and support following his death demonstrated that Bryan had achieved something that transcended athletic success. He had touched people's lives in meaningful ways and created relationships built on genuine care and respect. If you enjoyed this video, click on the ones showing on your screen to enjoy more.